America's Strongest Man happened this past weekend, and boy, what an incredible show it was. It saw the return of the commentator duo Rob Kearney and Anthony Furman from Clash on the Coast. Anthony's show this year in 2021. And not only are they both incredibly knowledgeable and great strongmen, but they work really well together, so put on quite an incredible performance of commentator, color commentary, and play-by-play for us for this incredible show. Now, quick apology, I am sick, my voice sounds horrible, but I know that all of you are looking forward to this in-depth analysis and results, full results for America's Strongest Man 2021, so I'm resilient, I'm going to try to fight through it. First and foremost, before we run into the results, a big shout out to ADL Live, who did the live streaming for this. I had an issue after watching a bit of it on Saturday. I wanted to watch the rest on Sunday. They fixed my issue in 5 minutes. A real class act, professional operation. Big shout out to ADL Live. So you should watch this contest, for all of the athletes and their performances, but also for the great live stream. So we got to mention that 3 of the gentlemen who, out of the 9 who competed in the heavyweights here, there was a middleweight as well, and I'll do a separate video about that, but 3 of the 9 heavyweights were actually amateurs. The rest were professionals, and those 3 amateurs were able to qualify through the online qualifier to compete against the pros. So we'll see how they fared, but it was pretty exciting, I'll tell you that much. Starting off, we had Fingal's fingers, so it was a set of 4 different fingers, a little lighter for the middleweights, a little heavier for the heavyweights. And Alan Colley, who I didn't know was competing when I did my predictions for this contest, did compete. He ends up doing just one of the fingers, unfortunately. He goes in the second pairing against Justin Kielhofer, who is one of the amateurs that qualified via the online qualifier and who will be on Strong and Stronger on our live stream this coming Tuesday, tomorrow night, September 28th at 9 p.m. Eastern, so don't miss that one. So that second pairing against Justin, as we said, Alan failed on the second finger. He did the first one in 12.83 seconds. Then we had Stan Carradine, who went first alone. We have 9 guys, so somebody's got to go alone every time, and he went first alone. He was fairly close to getting the 4th finger, but couldn't quite get it over. He does 3 fingers in 32.74 seconds for 2 points. Moving on up. Moving on up, we had Brian Clark, who went in the 4th pairing versus Thomas Evans. Thomas also the second of our 3 amateurs to qualify via the online qualifier. And Brian Clark had a slower time than Thomas Evans, finishes 4 fingers, all 4, but in 43.88 seconds. Then we have Justin Kielhofer, who we mentioned is also an amateur. He went in the second pairing via the aforementioned Alan Colley. He was smooth and easy on all 4 fingers, but not especially fast. He used more of a push-press style, so he didn't kind of throw it up. He got it to his chest, then push-pressed it, more of a deliberate motion. And Rob Kearney was saying maybe it was a strategy to overcome the slippery polished concrete floor that he and Anthony Furman were referring to. And so then we move on to Wesley Claiborne, who is a professional. He came in with 5 points here. He went in the 3rd pairing versus Tyler Cotton. He seemed to be running out of gas a little bit at the very end, but he did push it down. He was smooth on all of the other fingers, and that sort of push down on the last finger at the end does make up a few tenths of a second, so good strategy there. Moving on up, the aforementioned Tyler Cotton picks up 6 points, so he attacked each clean with reckless abandon. He had big pop-ups, so really deliberate, exaggerated motions, hard cleans, hard pops, and did very well here for 6 points. 4 fingers in 32.91 seconds for Tyler. 7 points go to Thomas Evans, who, as we mentioned, the second of our amateurs here, he does 4 fingers in 29.25 seconds. He went in the 4th pairing versus Brian Clark, and he slipped a little bit on that 4th finger while cleaning it, but he recovered and he finished strong. And moving up to the top of our ratings, we have 2 guys left, so 8 points go to Marcus Crowder, last year's defending 2020 America's Strongest Man, so he went 5th versus our 3rd amateur, Josh Silvis, and he was raring to go at the beginning, couldn't grab it fast enough, waiting for the whistle to go. Hit a fast time, but he had a bit of a slip and then a fumble on the 4th finger, which cost him a bit. 4 fingers in 28.46 seconds for Marcus, and of course that means the winner of the Fingal's fingers, an amateur, Josh Silvis. So Josh comes away with 9 points there. 4 of them in 22.36 seconds. I don't think that Marcus, without the fumbles, would have beaten that time anyway. He didn't fumble for 6 seconds, so I don't think that made much of a difference, but they went against each other, Marcus and Josh Silvis. And Josh Silva's a huge guy. Anthony Furman and Rob Kearney continuing to refer to him that way as a mountain of a man. He's 6'5", 400 pounds is what they said, so really a huge guy. He brute forced them all, so not really like push press or strict technique, but kind of he was big enough to just brute force them all. So that's how the Fingal's Finger shook out at America's Strongest Man ASM 2021. Let's have a look at the log press.
And at this time, I'd like to let you know that this video is being sponsored by our good friends at Garage Gym Life Media. If you like some of the analysis I've done on domestic contests in the past and want to know some more about the fine folks who are putting together and streaming some of those contests, I'm going to let John Greaves III, the founder of Garage Gym Life Media, tell you a little more about it.
I wanted to be a part of Static Monster since I first heard about it. In 2020, you had 985 competitors from 19 countries. The idea of people from all around the world competing in the axle deadlift and the log clean press all at the same time on the same day is something that's just mind-blowing. Normally, you'd have to fly overseas and then you only compete against the people who are also able to fly to that same location. It's a blessing for us to be able to not only live stream this event, but also be a part of bringing it to somewhere close to us here in the Southeast. So this is not only an amazing opportunity for the average competitor to be able to see where they stack up against the top athletes in the sport of strongman, but it's also a rare situation where you are literally competing head to head. And I'm just really blessed for our live stream company to be a part in some small way of getting the story of these amazing athletes out there who are doing a historic thing.
So starting off in last place was Alan Colley. He went first and he did 2 reps on the log press. So this log was 355 pounds with a 60-second time limit. You have to clean and press each rep. The scoreboard says that he did 1 rep, but I'm pretty sure he did 2. Rob Kearney mentioned he has strange elbows, so he did have a weird lockout, but it seems like they gave him 2, although I don't think that would have made a difference points-wise, so the points are what they are, 1 point for him. 2 points went to Brian Clark, so he went third in the order. His first rep was very easy. He took a step forward, but recovered it, so maybe a bit of a balance issue there, but he kind of, as I said, recovered it. Took 2 steps forward on his third and final rep. 3 points went to Justin Kielhofer, so he went fourth in the order. He was keeping them on his chest for a while, so some of the other guys were going quickly, as you'll see later. Wesley Claiborne Viper pressing, as he's very famous for. Justin more deliberate, keeping them on his chest for a long time. All the reps were pretty smooth, except he had a slight hitch on the second one. He came within a hair of getting a 5th, but his elbow was ever so slightly off. He didn't get the lockout call there. Stan Carradine comes away with 4.5 points here, so 5 reps for Stan. He went second in the order. His 5th and final rep was the only one that seemed hard for him. Stan seemed like a strong presser today. Thomas Evans comes away also with 4.5 points, also 5 reps in the log press. He went 7th in the order. They were all very nice reps with the head through. He made eye contact with the rep to make sure each rep was good before he went down, showing really kind of like professional techniques like that for an amateur. Then we have Wesley Claiborne, who comes away with 7.5 points, 6 reps for Wes. So he went 5th in the order. His first 4 were super easy Viper presses, 4 Viper presses. Imagine that. And then he even surprised himself with the ease on reps 1 and 2, I thought. So he kind of took a little step back. And he ends up with 6 reps. He didn't even let go of the log at the bottom of the 4th rep. He kind of touched it and went right back up. This is one of Wes's really highlights of the events that he does extremely well at, and he did again here. He splits the 7.5 points with Marcus Crowder, again, the returning champion from 2020, America's Strongest Man. Marcus went 8th in the order. He had 5 Viper presses, so even bests what Wes did. And his 6th clean was a little tough, but he had an easy press, and then he might have even had another one, but he called it at that point. 7.5 points also go to Tyler Cotton, so he does 6 reps as well. He went 6th in the order, 4 Viper presses for him as well, so I was a little shocked at how much Vipering I saw going on. These guys all extremely strong in this event. His 5th rep was the first push press that he had to do, 4 Vipers in a row before that. He struggled on the 6th clean, but then he pressed it easily, and then he called it after he knew he had the time. And then Josh Silvas, also 7.5 points, also 6 reps. He went 9th in the order, so he went last. No Vipers for him, but all his 6 seemed pretty easy for him. He had only 7 seconds left, so he kind of called it. Then he suddenly decides, wait, a 7 seconds. I'm trying to read his thought process. Like 7 might be enough, so he went to go for it really quick, rushed it, fell backwards, didn't get a 7th rep. So that's how the log press shook out at America's Strongest Man 2021, ASM 2021 in San Antonio. Let's have a look at the max deadlift. Starting off in 9th place, we have Brian Clark. So the deadlift for max started off at 725 pounds. That's what was listed, but all I saw was them starting at 745. So that might have changed, or maybe the guys all decided they didn't want to start at 725. As you'll see later, a lot of the guys decided together to skip weight, so it may have happened at the beginning as well. The interesting thing with ASM, America's Strongest Man 2021, is what they did is since they had middleweights and heavyweights, they would intersperse them sometimes. So especially with the deadlift, they had the middleweights start off at their starting weight, work their way up, and when they got to a weight heavy enough for the heavyweights to start, the heavyweights would compete. And then they would kind of intersperse them in between. So it was very interesting. If you're trying to make a video like this just about the heavyweights and then make the middleweight video later, you kind of had to skip around a little bit, but it's interesting. I think it was a good, different look than what we're used to seeing. So that being said, Brian Clark gets 1 point. He does perform the 745 pounds. It was slow and steady. He got it. He went second in the order. He missed at 765. His hips seemed to go up a little early both times. Like his hips went up before the bar, and the commentators mentioned that. Alan Colley does the 765, so he comes away with 2 points. He went first, actually, and he had a solid pull at 745, very wide stance for Alan Colley, super wide stance at 765 again. He ends up skipping 765. He ends up skipping 785 and goes directly to 805 and fails that weight, so 2 points for Alan Colley. 3 points go to Justin Kielhofer, so he went third. He had kind of, the roll forward and back, so 2 rolls and then a solid lift at 745. He passed at 765, which I wasn't surprised because it's only a 20-pound increase. These increases weren't very much, so there was a lot of passing going on. 785 he went for. They were slow over the hips, but he did get it. And then he passes at 805, which I was really surprised at because 785 seemed hard for him, and we'll ask him when we have him live tomorrow night on my channel. But then he ends up bowing out without trying the 825. Wait, 3 points for Justin. 4.5 points go to Stan Carradine, so he does 805. He went 4th in the order. He had a very comfortable 745 lift, still comfortable at 765, slow and steady at 805 with small hitches, but he got it. 825 pounds. He had a shoulder width stance, unlike some of the other guys. He had 1 failed try and then called it. So, the veteran knowing when not to try harder when you know you have more events coming up. And then Thomas Evans, who really impressed me a lot for an amateur. Anthony Furman said it best at the end of the show. He said, his overall placing, which you'll see in a few minutes, is not indicative of how well he did here. And his overall placing was decent, but he did even better than that considering he's an amateur and how well-rounded he seemed to be across all of the events. But so 4.5 points go to Thomas Evans, and 805-pound deadlift is nothing to sneeze at for him. So he had lots of hitches at 785, but he got it. So many hitches at 805, but fights through it. He's a real fighter, this guy. And he calls it at 805, doesn't attempt 825, walks away with his 805 successful lift. Marcus Crowder ends up at 825 pounds. He comes away with 6.5 points. He was 8th in the order. He passed 745. He came out, he's barefoot, right? He's kind of known for that. He comes out barefoot, a very wide stance at 765, nice and smooth, passes at 785, passes at 805, does it 25, slow and smooth, but solid. He was using traditional straps, I noticed. So some guys use figure 8s and some guys use traditional straps. There didn't seem to be a rule prohibiting figure 8, so guys used what they were more comfortable with. And he got just under the knees at 865, but no more. So 6.5 points for Marcus Crowder. Same score, 6.5 points go to Tyler Cotton. He also hit 825, so he went 7th in the order. His first rep at 745 was so easy that Anthony Furman called him disrespectful to the weight. Anthony Furman's a funny guy if you haven't heard him do commentary before. He's definitely entertaining and part of the reason why this show is great. So Tyler passes at 765, very easy at 785, but you can tell he's tightening up and preloading everything. There's a lot of technique going on there, unlike maybe some of the other guys. Nice form. He passes at 805. Nice smooth lift at 825, and then he misses at 865. So all of the guys actually decided to skip 845, and it bit some of them, and, we'll see what happens. Wes Claiborne comes away with 8 points, so he ends up with a 905-pound deadlift for second place in this event. He passed a whole bunch of weights at the beginning before he even began, and it seems to have worked out well for him. So Wes went 6th in the order, passed on 745, 765, 785, 805, and didn't come out until the weight was 825. Had an easy pull, so it seemed to be the right decision. And then, as I said, he got 905. That seemed to be his max. He didn't go up any higher than that. And then the winner, Josh Silvis, again coming through, the amateur giant man, coming through, showing us what he can do here. He passes a whole bunch of weights at the beginning as well, and ends up getting 925 pounds for the win in this event. He actually won Strongman Corp Nationals last year with a 401 kilo deadlift, so we knew he was going to come in with a big weight, but this was big even for that expectation. That's how the max deadlift shook out at America's Strongest Man 2021, ASM 2021. Let's take a look at the bag load. So the sandbag carrying load consisted of 4 sandbags, a 300-pounder, a 325, a 355, and a 400-pound. You have to carry it for 20 feet, loaded over a 48-inch bar. So Alan Colley comes away with 1 point here. He went second in the order. He did 2 bags in 27.48 seconds. So as you can see, not everyone finished every bag. The 400-pound was challenging for some of the guys. The picks were hard for Alan, but once he had them up, those first 2 he got to the bar, he had easy pops over the bar, but he really couldn't break the third one off the ground. 2 points go to Stan Carradine. So he does 2 bags in 21.62 seconds. He went 4th in the order. He had nice light jogs back after the first 2, seemed to be going very easy for him. Then he may have misjudged the height on the bar of the third one. It kind of had his pop, and it seems like he thought it was going over, but it hit the bar instead. Or maybe he just didn't have enough juice. Either way, he missed the third one after being oh so close to getting it. 3 points go to Justin Kielhofer, so he went 3rd in the order, 3 bags in 47.41 seconds. He was slow and methodical, and that's a theme with Justin. Like, he didn't seem overly fast on any of the events, slow and methodical there. He only had 5 seconds left when he was ready to start the 400-pound bag, so he said forget it and just walked away. 4 points go to Brian Clark. He does 3 bags in 38.66 seconds. He went first, so always difficult to go first. He had a smooth medium pace with no issues on the first 3 bags. He broke the 400-pound bag off the floor but couldn't lap it. 5 points go to Marcus Crowder, the returning champion of America's Strongest Man 2020, and he does 3 bags in 26.95 seconds. Only 3, you say? Yes, only 3. So, as you can see here, I'll show you a photo. He went 7th in the order. He had 3 bags in 26.95 seconds. Very fast run backs. Fastest pick of the 400. Everybody else was taking a big rest before the 400. He picks it right up and goes. He starts to lose his grip about halfway to the bar. Had to regrip at the bar, and then got it up to the bar, and just couldn't. Like, it fell. He was hitting it with his knee, doing everything he could to get it over, and just wouldn't go for him. So 3 bags for Marcus Crowder, lost a point or 2 here. 4 bags in 53.95 seconds by the ever-impressive Thomas Evans. Again, he is an amateur now, and he pulls away 6 points in this event. Very good moving strength, everything. This guy is very well-rounded, and I can't wait to see him compete again. He went 5th in the order. His first 3 bags were picked up without even fully laying them on the floor. So everybody else, the bags were standing up. Everybody else would lay them down and then pick them up sort of, horizontally. And he didn't even have to do that for the first 3. He got the 4th one over the bar and kind of collapsed in exhaustion afterwards, but he got his 6 points. Josh Silvis, the other amateur, 7 points for him, all 4 bags in 52.5 seconds. He went 9th in the order. Not super fast, but the weights didn't seem to be a problem for him, so he wasn't running or anything, but he wasn't slowed down or slipping with any of the bags either, so 7 points for Josh. 8 points go to Tyler Cotton, so he went 6th in the order. He was only half a point off the podium at this point and really trying to make his way back. And he was the first one I saw bear hug all 4 bags. So as I said, the bags were standing up. Instead of laying them down on the floor like everybody else did, he came around and bear hugged them and just stood up with them and went. So saving some time there if you're strong enough to do it. And he was. So first guy to kind of lift them up vertically that way. And he was also had the first 3 bags in under 30 seconds like some of the other guys did. He did, like, in wrestling, what you would call like a body-to-body suplex of the last bag over the bar, so he gets the fourth one, 47.71 seconds, only to be outdone by Wesley Claiborne, who was incredible in this. Wesley moves well for a big guy, and he's also incredibly strong. So Wesley gets 4 bags in 45.13 seconds. He went 8th in the order. Fast transitions, as I mentioned. He handled the 400-pound bag, the easiest of anybody, and wins this event. So that's how the Sandbag carrying load over bar shook out at America's Strongest Man 2021. Let's have a look at the bag over 15-foot bar. The object is just to see who can throw the heaviest bag over the bar. And when I say bar, it was interesting because it wasn't actually a bar made for the event. It was a rafter of the building, like built into the building, 15 feet high. So that was really interesting as well. I haven't seen that happen that often. So Alan Colley comes away with 1.5 points, able to get a 50-pound bag over the bar. He had 3 attempts at 55, but all went under the bar. His third attempt was way under. That 1.5 points gets split with Stan Carradine, so Stan also does 50-pound bag over the bar. It's funny because Stan went first. The first one was easy. The 50-pound bag was easy for him. And then 55 pounds he just had all kinds of trouble with, and it was very surprising given how easy 50 pounds was for him. And then Brian Clark comes away with 3.5 points. So Brian Clark gets a 55-pound bag over the bar. He went third in the order. Very easy on the 50-pounder. Got the 55-pounder over so easily that I thought I was looking at the wrong rafter. So again, they're throwing it over a rafter. It's a building. There's multiple rafters. I thought I was looking in the wrong place because it went so high and far past it. And then, of course, you have 3.5 points also going to Justin Kielhofer, who went second in the order. Nice extension on the 50-pound bag. He got that one. Enough height, but the trajectory was off on his first attempt at 55, but he got it on his second attempt. 60-pound bag, he tried that one. He hit the side of the bar 3 times. He had good position near the line, but just not enough height there. So some of the guys had good position, but not enough height. Some had good height, but not good position. And some who won had both. Then, of course, you have Marcus Crowder, who comes away with 5 points here. He gets the 60-pound bag. He released it too soon. Tried again. He released it too late, and it slammed into the bottom of the bar. And the third one, Goldilocks, was just right. Made it crawl right over the bar. He had 3 unsuccessful attempts at 65 pounds. 6.5 points get split with Thomas Evans and Wesley Claiborne. So Thomas Evans goes 5th in the order. Wes went 8th. Thomas Evans, no problem on 50 pounds. Easy at 55 pounds. Watching this guy throw a bag over bar was really a sight to see, especially for an amateur competing so well against the professionals. And I can't say that about this guy enough. 65 pounds. Wow, his release was too late. Then he adjusts it and sticks it at the top of the rafter. It falls back down. Then, beautiful leg drive, like he's doing like a real full squat. Beautiful leg drive, gets it over on the third try. I'll show you a photo of his exuberance here after he gets that one over. He couldn't get the 70-pounder over after 3 tries, but 70 pound is a lot to ask for a bag over bar. And as we mentioned, Wesley Claiborne comes away with 6.5 points as well for a 65-pound attempt. He missed the 70 pounds by a couple feet, tried again, missed it by a couple feet again, and then tried again and missed it by a lot under the bar, so maybe just running out of gas there. The rest in between these attempts was not that much, so it might have been the contributing factor. Then you have 8.5 points being split with Tyler Cotton and Josh Silvis. I keep saying this name. Josh Silvis did incredibly for an amateur. They both stick the 70-pound bag and both miss on the 75-pound bag. Tyler Cotton had an interesting maneuver as well. He would do kind of a one-hop back throw. Marcus Crowder was doing like a full 4 or 5 step shuffle back before he would throw. So it's interesting to see their different techniques. Josh Silvis was standing pretty far from the bar, about 6 feet away, and just launching it and never seemed to adjust his position. Like he was happy to just muscle it over. So very interesting to see how they approach these differently from each other. That's how the bag over bar shook out at America's Strongest Man 2021. Let's have a look at the final event, the Husafell Stone. So they called this the Texas Stone. It seemed like a combination of a Husafell Stone and a shield carry to me. The sides were really smooth. It was incredibly wide, unbelievably wide, and 400 pounds here. So Alan Colley zeros this one. He can't even break it off the ground. Very difficult for him. He doesn't have the biggest wingspan in the world, and this just did not suit him at all. 2 points go to Wesley Claiborne. So Wes barely could get it off the ground. He got it up. onto his body, couldn't get it fully up into the position he wanted, and then just threw it forward 11 inches, and they gave him the 11 inches, no steps for Wes Claiborne. Brian Clark comes away with 10 feet 6 inches, so again, this was a carry for distance, so 10 feet 6 inches, good enough for 3 points for Brian Clark. Justin Kielhofer ends up with 14 feet. He seemed to be having a problem with breathing, a problem with wind after he put it down, so that was it for him. 5 points go to Stan Carradine. So Stan carries at 18 feet. He went second in the order versus Brian Clark. A lot of adjusting before he got going, but he was already over the line, so he just started going. Only did a partial first lap, dropped in, and seemed to be visibly frustrated, very angry about it. 6 points go to Josh Silvis. So Josh does 32 feet 1 inch. He goes out one lap and partially back and then drops it. He lifted it up. It was a bit below his shoulder level, so not in the ideal position, but he went against Tyler. The way the Husafell shook out, Tyler did 70 feet. Marcus Crowder, as you see, did 127 feet 3 inches. Thomas Evans did 72. So Thomas Evans was the only guy Tyler could have beaten, unless he went way, way farther and beat Marcus, but that wouldn't have been enough points to make a difference overall. Thomas Evans, second place, 8 points. Again, I can't say enough about this guy. You see how consistent he's doing across all these events. He went third versus Justin. He's leaning way back, nice positioning, gets 3 laps, and then he seems to have a hamstring issue at the end, but maybe time to get a good rest. This was the last event. And Marcus Crowder, as I said, huge distance, an incredible comeback, to really put himself in good overall position here. 9 points for him, 127 feet 3 inches for Marcus Crowder. And what I'll show you in my next prediction video, I've been working on predictions based on every time someone's done an event throughout their career. And as you can see, the strength rating here, Marcus Crowder is 92.5%, like 92.5 out of every 100 points possible in this kind of event he has obtained over his career. So I knew he would do really well here, and he did. So that being said, let's take a look at the overall standings at America's Strongest Man 2021. So Alan Colley comes in 9th place with 6.5 points for him. 8th place goes to Brian Clark, 16.5 points for Brian. 7th place to Stan Carradine, who with a couple of mistakes here and there really knocked him down quite a bit. He could have done a bit better here. I had predicted him to be in 4th, and I thought he would have been closer to that, if not for the couple little glitches. 19.5 points for Stan. Justin Kielhofer comes in 6th place, 20.5 points for Justin. So doing very well for an amateur who qualified through the online qualifier against a bunch of pros. Thomas Evans, another amateur who qualified in that manner, 36.5 points for 5th place for Thomas Evans. Can't wait to see this guy compete again. 4th place goes to Wesley Claiborne, so 38 points for Wesley. Did very well, but that Husafell carry at the end really got him. And then we have our podium. So last year's America's Strongest Man 2020 is this year's 3rd place finisher. He makes the podium once again, Marcus Crowder. 41 points for Marcus Crowder. 2nd place goes to Tyler Cotton, New Jersey's own, my homie, Tyler Cotton. 43.5 points for Tyler. 2nd place for him. I predicted him to win this, but honestly, no one saw Josh Silvis coming. All we knew about him was his incredible deadlift. Rob and Anthony Furman also said the same thing. Like, we didn't expect this kind of performance out of him. So if you took him out of the equation, my predictions were really good, but big congratulations to the giant. Josh Silvis, 47 points, comes in 1st place, and Josh Silvis is your America's Strongest Man 2021. Big congratulations, Josh Silvis. Can't wait to see you compete again next year to defend your title. Thanks again for joining me on my blog, Strongest Man, for the America's Strongest Man 2021, ASM 2021 results and analysis. And of course, as always, until next time, ciao, homie.
Now a word about Go Hard Labs. Are you looking for a pre-workout that doesn't make your skin crawl but still gives you some solid energy for your workouts, or even just to get through your day when you're exhausted like I am from making all my YouTube content? You should check out Go Hard Labs and use my code MBSM10 to get 10% off of your purchase. They're taking pre-orders now. The product is so popular that they've sold out. Make sure and get your pre-order in so you can get your Driven from Go Hard Labs as soon as it becomes available. And again, make sure to use my code MBSM10, stands for My Block Strongest Man, to get your 10% off. And now back to today's topic.